What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to our Star Trek movie marathon with the sixth film and final outing from the entire crew from the original series. It's Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Now, I know that Kirk will be back in the next film, but I think that's the only cast member, if I recall correctly, as it primarily will be onto the next generation at that point. So, The Undiscovered Country should be considered the final outing from the crew. Now, I really like this title, The Undiscovered Country, obviously borrowed from Shakespeare's Hamlet during the To Be or Not to Be speech, which is the only soliloquy that I still have memorized from English class 16 years ago. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say, we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh's heir, 'tis a condemnation, devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep perchance to dream. There's the rub, for in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this moral coil must give us pause, for those are the respect that makes calamity a so long life. Whatever, it goes on and on and on. Shakespeare, on his own, if you understood him, carried a hefty load of seriousness, so to use one of his lines as a subtitle not only sounds pretty interesting, but it doubles down on the tone of the film as well. But no worries, knowledge on Shakespeare is not a requisite for this review. Let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, requisite, needed for a particular purpose, aka essential or necessary. A Klingon moon has just been destroyed, and Klingons are facing extinction in the undiscovered country, and it's up to the USS Enterprise to ensure the survival of their species and bring peace to their universe. Kirk, of course, wants no part of it and is quite racist when it comes to even talking about them, let alone trusting them. They are the ultimate enemy in his eyes. He wouldn't even think twice if the entire race was just killed off. Bad words to live by, as the Klingon vessel was mysteriously attacked, assassinating the leader of the clan. Kirk is blamed because he not only said that all Klingons should die, but because the missile apparently was shot out of the USS Enterprise. So Kirk is found guilty and banished on an ice planet, working as a slave for the rest of his life, unless he wanted to die, which of course could be easily arranged. It's up to the crew to investigate whatever happened and to give Kirk a clean slate. This is a fantastic Star Trek film and easily one of my favorites just because it's so multifaceted. There's a lot going on here that's heavy-handed in the best possible way, and of course a lot of stuff is also subtle but equally as important. This film battles prejudice and racism headfirst and uses words and ideas that racists use. And I'm not going to repeat those words or phrases, just know that they are very unsettling, even when the crew of the Enterprise is using them against the Klingons, which really makes you feel bad for them. Klingons, you feel bad for Klingons, the biggest enemy of the series and the movies. This is like Luke Skywalker inviting Emperor Palpatine over for dinner. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hanging out with the Foot Clan, or like Coke and Mentos trying to work things out. And between the Enterprise and the Klingons, you know who comes off as the bad guy? The Enterprise, or more specifically, Captain Kirk. Now, I love when movies do this kind of switch, and it's even more powerful because they've been making movies for 12 years at this point and have played these characters in this world a whole lot longer than that, which to me means fantastic writing. For Captain Kirk, the hero, to be so absolutely hateful towards Klingons has never been confusing. It was always normal, but in this movie, it's perceived as something shameful, and it forces Kirk to reevaluate his viewpoints on the Klingons and to stop generalizing things altogether. The undiscovered country, as written by Shakespeare, is referring to death, but that the dread of something after death. The undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than to fly to others we know not of. Hamlet's talking about not just dying, but facing the afterlife and whatever that might be, which scares him. But on an even subtler take, it's talking about accepting the unknown, which makes you think twice because people hate change. They're so comfortable where they're at, even if that spot is harming others at the same time, which is the situation that Kirk finds himself in with this grudge. So the film offers Kirk one of the best chances for character development in the series that I've ever seen. And I really dug where they took it. They went from the last film, where Kirk's just sitting around a campfire singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat twice, to this film, and the contrast between the two is insane. I can't even talk about negatives, because to me, there are none. That is, nothing stands out as bad. There's plenty of areas that didn't work out perfectly, but just because they're not perfect doesn't mean they're actually bad. They're just areas here and there that could have used improvement, like some of the visuals. When the movie opens up, Klingons are getting attacked. It's during a sequence where they lose their gravitational pull on the ship, so they're all just kind of floating around, and they're getting killed off one by one by a mysterious shooter. And during this, you get all the CGI blood that's shooting out of them, also floating around, and it kind of looks bad, but it's really only during this sequence. The rest of the movie looks fine. Plus, even with the fake-looking blood, I thought this entire scene was super tense, and it extends that feeling of feeling so bad for the Klingons because they're indefenseless as they're basically being targeted by somebody with genocide in their hearts. It's deep, it's shocking, and it's thought-provoking. Let's go ahead and talk about the final score for a second. Even from an unbiased technical vantage point, this film did some very good things. Like I said, taking a set-in-stone villain of the series and making them look innocent and good while taking Kirk and crew and making them look bad, that's smart. It's bold. I also didn't mention it before, but during the entire movie, Spock and the rest of the Enterprise is going through what feels like a very scientific investigation into what actually transpired. And even that is extremely specific, and it allows everybody the opportunity to do something, to contribute to the film. That unbiased score is 84%, and because I think this is my second favorite Star Trek film so far, my bias score is 90%, averaging everything out to a final score of 87%, 87 out of 100 possible stars, grading it with a letter grade of B+. Very cool, guys. If you haven't seen it, this is definitely a movie that I recommend. I'm not sure how I forgot a lot of what happened in the movie, but it allowed me to have a really fun experience watching it for the second time. Now it's time for you guys to tell me your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. As far as Star Trek films go, where do you rank it? And as far as YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like this review, because there's more like it coming out. And hit the subscribe button and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, which is going to be Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is tomorrow. So don't miss out on that. And until tomorrow, peace out.